dear JCI to protocol observed, dear friends, partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Achille Sonehekpon. For this year, I'm in Middle East. It is with great enthusiasm I stand before you today for the JCI RISE Virtual Summit 2023. This third edition, an event making a key moment in our quest for positive change. I want to express my deep gratitude to each and everyone for you, and I want you to thank you to join us, sharing your knowledge, experiences, ideas, and perspectives that shape our communities. As we gather for this event, the world finds itself at the moment for challenge and transformation, facing the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic. Through this period, the JCI RISE Initiative encourage JCI members to support and strengthen a new way of living the mental health and well-being of communities. In keeping with the JCI mission, JCI opportunities to develop as individuals. By combining individual development with initiatives to preserve mental health, communities can create total and sustainable solutions to the challenges they face. These are such as resilience, improving social relations, reducing stigma, innovation, creativity, and stress management. Promote personal and collective growth to better cope with change and difficulties in a positive and constructive way. These various actions contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, in particular SDG 3, which focuses on good health and well-being. SDG 3 is crucial to human well-being, economic prosperity, mental sustainability, and social stability. Achieving this goal has cascading positive impacts on many aspects of society. This economy and the environment, helping to create a more balanced, prosperous, and resilient world. After the advent of COVID-19, local and national JCI organizations carry out projects including, by example, in Africa and the Middle East, where we started this initiative in 2020, JCI Nigeria, we've conducted a session called Mentorship and Mental Health, during which Dr. Lara in 2023, JCI AMDEC chairlady Titiwe shared with participants how mentoring is a proactive measure toward principal development and better managing mental health. To take this a step further to actively strive to demonize the discourse around mental health and raise awareness of the fact that our mental health is just as important as our physical health. We need to rethink the way we care for our mental health and find solutions that are appropriate and beneficial to each of our community. As Rich Norton said, every sunset is an opportunity to reset. Their community and economic impact enthusiasts, we invite you to massively sharing this JCI RISE initiative with our audiences so that they can learn more. This virtual summit can inspire them to take potential action that will bear fruit in their life and the life of those around them. Join us at Junior Chambers International. Take a step on www.dvc.jci.cc and follow us on our various communication channels. As the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of this dream, dear friends, we urge you to take action for JCI RISE Initiative that guarantee a better future in our community. Thank you for your attention. I wish you all the best in this summit. Take care.
Hello, everyone. This is Matthias speaking to you from Berlin, Germany. I am the founder and managing director of ChangemakerXchange, a global community and support network for young changemakers all around the world. We have about 1,200 members that work on any kind of pressing global or societal issue that you can imagine. And we take them on board our community to give them access to a network of like-minded peers to help them and build their capacity and ultimately help them scale and sustain and deepen their impact. And I am very honored and very happy to be here with you at the RISE Summit. And thank you to Junior Chamber International for the invitation. And I hope that I'd be able to share a couple of interesting insights with you from my professional experience and the work that we do at ChangemakerXchange. I myself, maybe 2 words about me as a person, grew up in the south of Germany in a very small village. And from very early on, I was drawn to big ideas that can potentially have a big positive impact on the world and have pursued that ever since. I was active and still am in the space of social entrepreneurship and social innovation for the good past 15 to 20 years, for a very long period of time with Ashoka, another global network of social entrepreneurs, and for the past couple of years as part of the wonderful team behind ChangemakerXchange and the Possibilists. And I'm going to tell you a bit more about that in just a moment. As ChangemakerXchange, we are part of a wonderful, growing global ecosystem of support organizations for young entrepreneurs, activists, and changemakers. But we, as members of this ecosystem, realized that beyond all our individual support programs, if we truly want to tackle the challenges that young leaders and entrepreneurs are facing today, we can only do that through collaboration, which is why, initiated by ChangemakerXchange, we created the Possibilists Alliance, which today is about 20 of the world's largest social innovation networks for young people, including Ashoka, Junior Chamber International, and Actors, Kofi Annan Foundation, Global Changemakers, We Are Family Foundation, and many more. And together we really have this vision that we, as the global ecosystem of support organizations, can all follow a shared data-driven understanding of the real needs of young people that create positive change and help them thrive and increase and sustain their impact. And together, as sort of the biggest project that we do together, we created a global study on the lives and the impact and the challenges of young changemakers called The Possibilists. Our 2023 report looks at 1,656 changemakers from 133 countries, of which roughly 1,200 are beyond idea stage, meaning they're actively implementing projects all around the world, which is the sample that we have focused on in our Possibilists report. So the young changemakers that we surveyed in the Possibilists 2023 report are really working across all the sustainable development goals, the SDGs, with every single one of them being addressed and them creating impact across all of them. When we asked them to think about their work within the SDG framework, the three main focus areas that they tackle and the most pressing issues that they saw was quality education, climate action, and gender equality. SDG 13, climate action, really stands out because it has risen in importance to the young changemakers by 21% since 2 years ago, and is now the second highest focus area, replacing reduced inequalities. This highlights the high level that young people and the urgency that they see and feel around climate action. The three main motivators for their work are that 94.8% of them want to mobilize and empower others for change-making, meaning they want to be multipliers, and they understand that in order to truly make a change, you as a young person should motivate and empower as many other young people as possible to join the cause and to become active themselves. 92% of them want to contribute to pressing global issues because of their urgency, and 91.5% of the people that we surveyed want to do something for the community that they come from. Before we turn our attention to some of the challenging bits and the needs that young changemakers have, we want to take your attention to something quite positive. Interestingly, beyond and despite the many challenges and the hardships and uncertainties that young changemakers face, life satisfaction among them is really high. On a scale from 0 to 10, they rank at a 7. And that is, in comparison, really considerably higher than the global average of 5.6. In fact, if all changemakers around the world were a country, they would rank 14th happiest country in the world. And my assumption is that perhaps working in line with your purpose and your values and pursuing a passion to make a positive change really has a positive role and effect on your overall life satisfaction. I can at least say that it does for me personally, and maybe you experience the same for yourself. But even though life satisfaction is really high in changemakers, that doesn't mean that changemaking is an easy path and an easy road to follow. Less than 1 in 10 young social innovators can live off of their social change ventures, and only 6.4% of them can cover all their necessary expenses through their work. That's 3% less even than in 2021. Around 8 out of 10 young changemakers can only cover half or less than half of their necessary income through the work. And 70% of them say that the lack of personal financial security is a key hurdle for them and their teams. So in case you face similar issues, I can't really offer you anything here through the screen, but I can at least tell you that you're not alone in this struggle and that you shouldn't despair. And I hope there is support for you somewhere out there, but you're certainly not alone in this struggle. 78% of the respondents have other professional commitments in addition to their work on their initiative, meaning young changemakers are forced through having to have other jobs, through studying, through other personal commitments beyond their changemaking to juggle a lot of things at the same time. We also asked them what it makes it most difficult for them to successfully work on their initiative, and a striking nearly 50% of them say that they lack important and powerful and relevant contacts. So networking is really important for young changemakers out there as well. The fourth big challenge is burnout and well-being issues. If you are engaged in social change work or are considering it, you probably already realize that it can be quite an exhausting thing to do. And our study shows that as well. 1 in 4, 26% of the changemakers in the study, unfortunately experience some form of burnout and exhaustion. These numbers have significantly improved in the last 2 years since the COVID pandemic, but it is still a big, big issue, and every single changemaker facing burnout is, in my opinion, one too many. In qualitative follow-up interviews, some respondents mentioned that the 2021 Possibilists report was in fact an alarm bell for them to prioritize their mental health and prevent burnout. And I just want to tell you today that there is resources and support out there around this topic, and mental health and well-being is really gaining importance these days. And I hope that if you struggle yourself, you go out there and get the support that you need and that you honestly deserve. Beyond the challenges we presented, we want to bring a spotlight through this report on one particularly striking statistic, and that is on climate anxiety. 82% of the respondents in the study say that they're very or extremely worried about climate change, and it does negatively affect them personally and their work. 53% say their feelings around climate change negatively affects their daily life, and this can also lead to lower well-being, depression, or other forms of mental suffering. But as the saying goes, every cloud has a bit of a silver lining, and we can acknowledge anxiety and anger as a powerful motivator for climate action. And perhaps that is demonstrated by the fact that climate action has become the second largest cause that changemakers work on. And so we feel we can't really separate well-being of young changemakers from the well-being of the planet. And we see the need for a rapid, progressive answer to the planetary crisis as much as we see the need for more support for young changemakers. There really isn't one specific need that young changemakers have, but they consider many things very important, higher than 90% for many of them, including how they collaborate with others, ensuring the quality of their products or their services, access to relevant networks, skills building, visibility, access to new target groups, and of course, above all, access to funding and finances. While it was a smaller percentage of the sample, we consider it really important to acknowledge that nearly 60% of the young changemakers in the report consider basic security for their staff, for themselves, including shelter, food, water, and heating, to be very important. Now, as the saying goes, and maybe a final message here, raising a child needs a village, and we believe that supporting changemakers needs an ecosystem. And we see that time and again. It is really time to act, which is through conversations with young changemakers from around the world and members of the Possibilists Alliance. We came up with a lot of recommendations, and you can see them on www.thepossibilists.org. And reflect on them in your own time and maybe get a couple of tricks for things that you can do yourself. We believe the Possibilists Report 2023 is hopefully really just the beginning. And we all know all the data and all the talk and all the presentations are worth very little without the action. We really want to call on everyone, including the young changemakers and leaders and entrepreneurs themselves. Let's come together and let's go from data to action. And there's so many ways that you can do this. Reach out to your local ecosystem on the ground, the supporters that exist within your community and your city, and have a critical discussion with them around what you truly need as a young changemaker and what they may have to change in their offering or offer as an addition to their existing catalog of support. And to all the foundations and corporates and support networks out there, I think it is really time that we look at the true needs and challenges that young changemakers face around the world. And we do have the data, among others, in the Possibilists Report 2023. And let's come together and brainstorm and think about what we can do to improve the conditions that young people that want to make a positive contribution to the world face, and how we can really make sure to help them thrive and deepen and scale their impact. Last but not least, I want to share that changemakers around the world, and I've said this at the beginning, create amazing impact, but they do struggle. And I think it is up to each one of us to take small or big actions to help them thrive for their own well-being, but maybe even more importantly so for the well-being of all of us and the good of all. So thank you for your attention. And if you want to learn more, I encourage you to go to thepossibilists.org, where there's a lot of data and tips and tricks, including a directory of more than 500 offerings that support organizations around the world make to you and other young people that create positive change. And I hope that you have a wonderful journey and that your struggle is minimal, but the impact that you create is at a maximum level. So thank you very much for your attention.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victor Ugo. I currently work with the MHPSS collaborative over at Save the Children Denmark. My past roles include as a senior campaign officer with United for Global Mental Health, and I'm immensely proud of starting the Mental Energy Initiative organization. Seeing this organization evolve from a simple idea to one of the major organizations looking at mental health for young people in Africa has been quite a journey. And today I'm hoping to share some insights and some of the thoughts that might resonate with each of you. So when we talk about mental health, we're not just discussing individual challenges, but a collective journey. Every community, every society faces these challenges. My own experience with depression when I was in medical school, it wasn't just personal to me. I think it showed me a broader picture. It made me see the gaps, the needs, and the immense potential of what understanding and support can achieve. And that's what set me on the path of the career that I ended up choosing, a path that I believe many of us can walk on, and that can lead to a ripple effect of change. Awareness is like lighting a candle in a dark room. When we are aware, we can see, we can understand, and we can act. When I was diagnosed with depression in med school, I had a very good supportive environment of friends who understood what I was dealing with, who were aware of the situation and knew how to help me out. They were informed with the right knowledge to support me through the process. Now, my friends during what I imagine is my most challenging time, they had that light. Their understanding became my beacon. What if that light was everywhere? What if we can find the light in our workplaces, in our schools, within our own families? Imagine the kind of support, empathy, and resilience we could build. So awareness isn't just about campaigns and slogans. It's about conversations. It's about education. It's about building bridges. And it's really about finding the right community of people who understand you, who are there for you, and who can help you when you need it. Every day we make choices about what to eat, what to wear, how to spend our time. But what if we can add small, meaningful habits to these choices? Something like a 10-minute meditation session in the morning, or a commitment to reduce our screen time by 1 hour every day, or maybe choosing to take a walk or go on a bike ride instead of binge watching a series. Over time, just like every other habit, these habits can redefine our mental well-being. They can help to offer clarity, they can give us some balance, and they can help us to build coping mechanisms and resilience over time that prepare us for the challenging moments that everyone experiences now and then. Support comes in various forms. Sometimes it's a listening ear. Other times it's guidance towards professional help. Regular check-ins, even if they seem small to you, they can make someone feel very valued. When we actively engage in support groups or community initiatives, we amplify this support, reaching out to many more people. It's about creating an ecosystem where mental well-being isn't just a personal journey, but a collective effort. Every conversation, every action, every bit of support adds up. And together as a community or as an individual, we have the power to transform our understanding and approach to mental health. So I urge each and every one of you to be that beacon of change, to carry forward the message, to make a difference in your own unique way. If anyone wants to make a change, I think usually starts from the self, from within. So maybe starting from increasing your knowledge about mental health and what that means to you or to those around you would make a huge difference. But also taking that awareness and that knowledge that you have and making sure that everyone around you sees that light. In the orchestra of life, the harmony of mental well-being is indispensable. It's part of our existence. It's part of why we're here. We cannot separate mental health from physical health. So I want to urge all of you to become advocates in your own capacities. Let's be the change that we wish to see. Let's foster the environment of understanding, empathy, and support. And if you want to have more conversations about this, there are communities and organizations that exist where you can be involved. Get into those communities, volunteer, be part of it, learn, act, and be involved as much as possible. But if you need support to be able to connect to those communities, you can always reach out to my own organization in Nigeria, Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative. We have a lot of experience with connecting people to activities that we have, but we also have connections with other organizations across Africa that we can link you up with. If you're looking to find us, you can find us on all social media platforms, on X at Mentally Aware NG, on Instagram at Mentally Aware NG, on TikTok, the same handle. But you can also send us an email at contact@mentallyawareng.org. Thank you for this opportunity to share.
Hello everyone, and thanks to JCI for the invitation to this event happening in a very special week where we are celebrating worldwide a very important mission, our common efforts to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Before starting, I wanted to share a bit about my background and related to today's topic. Although I was starting my career from a different industry, telecommunication and aerospace, with a foot constantly in the innovation and the startups ecosystem, I was always passionate about the brain. That made me finish a PhD in the field of biomedical engineering, specialized in acoustics and neuroscience, where we created an acoustic therapy to reduce stress and apply it to the patients with chronic tinnitus. Nevertheless, neuroscience is a broad field and neurotech was not enough for me, so I started to learn a bit more about the biological and psychological views of it. Moreover, and during the COVID-19 pandemic, I decided to quit my job and fully dedicate myself to other of my patients, launching my own business and making an impact in the world. On the other hand, mental health was a big problem before the pandemic and was growing exponentially, where teenage and young people are the most affecting ones. So together with my two co-founders, Guillermo Martinez Cubels and Tony Vecina, and some well-known collaborators in the psychology and psychiatry space, we decided to launch Loomee, a platform to prevent and improve mental health for young people, offering 3 different interfaces, 2 apps for patients and their caregivers, and a dashboard for professionals with a virtual library of resources. Capitalizing from the knowledge of one of our advisors and collaborators, Antonio Cano will have a digital therapy focused on anxiety and depression before the end of the year. By mental health problems will be the leading cause of lost healthy life. The cost estimated for the world economy will be more than 6 trillion euros. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, 1 in 3 young people was suffering from anxiety or depression. Currently, in some countries, this number has doubled. Furthermore, in the developed countries, 50% of people with severe mental disorders don't receive treatment for their mental health problems. That number is even worse in low and middle income countries, between 76 and 85%. Sustainable development is important because it promotes long-term economic growth while considering environmental protection and social progress, ensuring a better future for current and future generations. Specifically, for health, it focuses on creating health environments, access to healthcare, promoting well-being, and addressing social determinants of health, ultimately improving overall quality of life. I moved from a big corporate where it was very difficult to turn the machinery on to influence the elephant and make an impact linked to those sustainable development goals. The reason behind are that the daily operations are the priority and profitability is at risk when you try to change or innovate in a direction that is more expensive now, though it could be cheaper and mandatory for the future. If I would recommend any advice to help young leaders creating a better world, I would say, avoid working with certain thinking objectives. Be open to science and innovation, even more when you feel it's disrupting the way it was done traditionally. And for everyone else, be aware of your mental health and understand that there are infinite ways to live. You can find methods to test and validate if those are satisfactory for you. You need to discover one that makes you achieve a state of flow, something that brings you purpose, meaning, and joy in life, your ikigai, the Japanese concept of combining what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and when you can be paid for. Psychopharmaceuticals, such as antidepressants and antipsychotics, have long been the primary treatment method for various mental health conditions. Over the years, mental health treatments have witnessed a remarkable evolution with a notable shift in focus from psychopharmaceuticals to psychological therapies like, for example, cognitive behavioral therapies and other evidence-based therapies. This transition has been driven by the increasing recognition of the importance of holistic approaches to mental health, meaning that the human being is considered in the integral way, addressing the impact of a physical, mental, emotional, and social aspects. As research and understanding of mental health have advanced, there has been a growing recognition of the limitations and potential side effects of relying solely on medication. Psychopharmaceuticals are used as palliative measures. They act on a central nervous system, having sedative, anticonvulsant, and amnestic effects. They block the reabsorption of various neurotransmitters, such as serotonin or norepinephrine, which increase the level of those neurotransmitters in the brains. They are beneficial for some individuals, but they have a high relapse rate. Their effects start from 30 to 60 minutes after the oral administration and persist during only 6 hours approximately. They can also have side effects and may not address the root cause of mental health conditions. The main side effects are, for example, certain memory decline, loss of balance, drowsiness, or dependence after 8 weeks of intake. Moreover, the main symptoms after discontinuations are kind of flu-like, aching muscles and chills, nausea, sensation of electric shocks, or recurrence of depressive symptoms. On the other hand, we have the psychological therapies, provide individual with practical skills and tools to manage their mental health effectively. They focus on addressing underlying thought patterns and behaviors that contribute to mental health issues, empowering individuals to develop coping strategies and make lasting changes. They are cheaper than a lifetime of taking drugs and make you have no external dependency while taking self-control. Usually, they are more satisfactory and long-lasting. They cover problems that pharmacology cannot address, such as self-esteem, personal growth, problem-solving, acceptance of emotions and thoughts, and managing a mental, physical, social, and affective health. Lastly, the increasing emphasis of patient-centered care and personalized treatment has contributed to the rise of psychological therapies. These therapies allow for a tailored approach that considers an individual's unique circumstances, preferences, and goals. One final remark is that we need to be careful with those non-evidence-based pseudotherapies acting as a placebo or misleading and being potentially harmful for the patient. Countries around the world have been actively promoting psychologically therapies as an effective alternative of complementary treatment to psychopharmaceuticals. Nevertheless, there is still a lot to do. If we focus, for instance, in anxiolytics, such as benzodiazepine, countries like Germany were drastically reducing the prescription over the years. However, there are still exceptions. In countries like Spain, for example, the sale of anxiolytics and antidepressants have increased by 30% during the last 10 years. Moreover, Spain has become the leading country in the world in terms of benzodiazepines consumption. If we continue understanding the German model, we can see that the number of clinical psychologists was increasing too, something that Spain still needs to do because they have only 6 clinical psychologists for every 100,000 inhabitants against the 18th, which is the European average. Practicing mindfulness, seeking the therapy, and engaging in self-care activities are popular trends for boosting mental health. In most of the cases, there are digital solutions such as apps, platforms, and online resources to complement the professionals or even being the first point of contact for mild to low mental health problems. Researchers have verified that psychological treatment through mobile applications are equally effective as interventions conducted in a face-to-face manner, particularly in symptoms of depression, generalized anxiety, and social anxiety. In addition, they appear to be useful in reducing high level of stress, which may be an early indication of certain mental health problems. Apart from that, digital health tools supported by clear scientific evidence could be useful for people who need specialized treatment who are not receiving it, or simply to reduce waiting times and the probability of symptoms progression, improving the quality of life of those affected by a mental health problem. Digital therapeutics, DTX, are evidence-based therapeutic interventions driven by software to prevent, manage, or treat a medical disorder or disease. They can be used as an standalone therapy or in conjunction with more conventional treatments like pharmacological or in-person therapy, or also with certain hardware or other sensory or mechanic devices. Coming back to Germany and the reasons why they are decreasing the psychopharmaceuticals, they were pioneers in the prescription on DTX, covered by Social Security. Now other countries are following them. Based on the guidelines provided by the National Health Services, the NHS in the UK, some advices for young people to take care of their mental health include staying active and exercising regularly, eating a healthy and balanced diet, getting enough sleep, practicing mindfulness and relaxation techniques, talking openly with friends, family, or a therapy about any concern or issue, limiting social media and screen time, and seeking professional help if needed. Deepening into our physiological responses, when we are socializing, neurotransmitters like dopamine and oxytocin are affected. In nature, serotonin and endorphins increase. Sports release endorphins and boost dopamine. Good sleep enhances serotonin and GABA. Eating sensibly supports various neurotransmitters, and mindful breathing helps activate the parasympathetic system. Explaining what those neurotransmitters do, for example, dopamine boosts motivation and pleasure, oxytocin promotes bonding and trust, serotonin contributes to mood regulation and well-being, endorphins reduce pain, promote feelings of well-being and induce a sense of euphoria, and GABA calms the nervous systems. All of these neurotransmitters collectively enhance mood, social connection, happiness, and the overall human functioning. Digging into the other advices, social networks are part of today's social fabric and do not pose in themselves a threat to mental health. They can even be a powerful tool for interventions in vulnerable population, mainly among young people, and indispensable and effective tool for prevention campaigns. However, social networks and internet use are not risk-free. They can significantly influence self-esteem and cognitive and social development on young people and increase the risk of anxiety, depression, and poor sleep quality. It can also lead to social isolation, decreased physical activity, and face-to-face interactions. In addition, behavior related to use of filters to enhance photographs is associated with an increased risk of eating disorders. By limiting screen time, individuals can create a better balance between their online and offline lives, leading to improved mental health and well-being. Finally, in order to avoid the stigma surrounding mental health, we need to promote education and awareness, encouraging open conversations, challenging stereotypes, and showing empathy and support to those who are struggling. One last piece of advice is tracking your feelings and thoughts daily, which can be very important as it helps. In conclusion, the landscape of mental treatment has experienced a significant transformation over the years. The decreasing use of psychopharmaceuticals and the rise of evidence-based psychological therapies reflect a growing understanding of the importance of comprehensive and individualized approach to mental health. This shift not only offers more effective treatment options, but also promotes empowerment and long-term well-being for individuals seeking support for the mental health concerns. Digital health resources could complement professionals or even be the initial touch point or frontline interaction. They're a good option as they provide accessibility, convenience, privacy, and can be cost-effective. While they can be beneficial for many, some individuals may still require the personalized guidance of psychologists for more complex mental health issues. If I may, I would like to remind you to look after yourself by getting enough sleep, eating sensibly, staying active, when possible, being in contact with nature and socializing, and last but not least, practice any relaxation technique. Moreover, you can use applications such as Loomee, where you will be able to access several resources like psychoeducation, tracking mood and thoughts, activities, techniques, therapies, and professionals. Those small actions can impact the empowerment of individuals to proactively manage their mental well-being and prevent the onset of more serious mental health conditions. From a bigger picture, increasing access to affordable and quality mental health services can help address the global burden and epidemic of epidemic and mental illness, improving the overall societal well-being and productivity. Don't forget to follow Loomee in our social media channels or our website, www.loomee.health, and connect with me via LinkedIn, Francisco J. Tavira. I'll be happy to support you with anything I could help you with.
Hello, hi everybody. This is Edo from Virtuosis with Lara.
Also co-founder of Virtuosis.
I'm myself, a little bit background of, I'm coming from the corporate world. I've been working for a decade in large organization, and I turned myself in an entrepreneur, and I wanted to create something more significant, more important, and to have an impact in this world. And I worked on different projects, and currently I've been working on Virtuosis, which is an AI company focused on the well-being of the corporate world for the well-being of the employees. Maybe.
And on my side, I come from a tech background, studying robotics and artificial intelligence at EPFL in Lausanne in Switzerland. And I did research, the research behind our technology there. So using the power of machine learning to understand better ourselves as human and help improve our well-being and communication.
So we're very delighted to be here today. Thank you for the invitation. I also say thanks to the Geneva Chamber of Commerce. I'm also an ambassador of that organization, and I'm really delighted to be, we're all part of the same family. Now everybody is talking about artificial intelligence, so it's everywhere in the news. But really, it has a lot of potentials, but we have to use it in the right way. So we've been working on AI for the mental health and well-being since before the hype. And we believe that AI is a useful tool which can empower more people and provide services that otherwise would be provided only to a niche of people. So for us, my opinion is that artificial intelligence can be extremely useful because it can reach broader audience, so we can have an impact for all kind of people, not only for those who can afford customized approach to mental health support carried by professionals, but also people who cannot reach those type of specific and expensive support. So I think it's on one side, it can be more inclusive in the sense that it is very, very used the word nowadays, but it's really, I think we can reach many more people than without the AI. And at the same time, we can go a bit deeper with in specific fields of the mental health and the well-being. Maybe Lara, you want to get, because it sounds very abstract, if you want to get into detail.
So
please.
Maybe not really into detail, but more to sum up with AI. On one side, we can detect cues in the voice that as human we cannot hear the difference, but the AI is able to perceive the difference, perceive patterns of someone, for example, if you would have some mental health issues, or just someone who is happier, less happy. On the other side, the benefit of using AI is that you don't need a human behind analyzing you like every day, every week. You can automatize that and receive feedback, track your evolution day to day.
Actually, our focus is really well-being at work, and tracking at work while people are very, very busy is extremely difficult, and it takes often time. So it's time consuming for organizations. So we came up with a solution which is flawless, which doesn't require additional efforts from any employees. So we managed to apply AI algorithms within calls such as the one we are having right now. So we are actually in a Zoom meeting and doing in a real time, almost real time. So we can track on a daily basis well-being of any employees during their daily calls. Maybe Lara, you want to show a bit how it works?
Maybe not really showing, but explain further. So we can track the well-being of any employees confidentially. So we provide insight about the well-being to each person, and then because it's at work and often the organization need also to act if there is a need to improve the well-being, managers, the enterprise can receive aggregated data, but not the individual data.
So basically, we develop with Virtuosis AI a plugin working currently on Microsoft Teams application, which analyze audio signals during audio in the voice, the human being voice, which extract information and insights about their well-being and provide immediate feedback about the employee. And this stays within the employee only, and the managers and your large organization can obtain aggregated information, so to comply with the privacy that Lara just mentioned.
So data is at the core of any artificial intelligence tool, because AI needs to learn from a lot of data to be able to make prediction. We are used to say that AI is only as good as the data it's fed in. So it's why Virtuosis technology is based on a lot of research that dates back from 3 years ago, where we gathered data from all around the world in order to have as little bias as possible. And that we worked with psychologists and psychiatrists in order to have really good quality data. And from this data, on one side, we got human, of course, kind of teaching the AI by providing labeling. And then on the other side, we got the AI analyzing the voice of these people. It's analyzed over 400 parameters, actually, of the voice. So there is the tone, the frequency, but many more that are kind of more mathematical. But one important thing to mention is that it doesn't analyze what you say, just how you say it, with this about 400 parameters. And so once the AI has learned from all this data, we are able to measure its accuracy, its precision, and use it to help track well-being at work.
And it's very important also to consider in the organization, you can really, data can provide input to make better decision, both at individual level and at the managerial level. So data can provide patterns, can see if people are getting better, and it can detect, anticipate potential issues. So having data, it's extremely important in this field, because often their analysis of well-being, it's a qualitative analysis. And here we are able, thanks to the AI, and then I get back to the very early intervention, that we can really provide something additional to normal traditional tools and practitioners. So we have both this double-fold advantage, and so both at individual level and at the organizational level. And we quantify what it's been usually very difficult to quantify. Let me start saying that my journey, career journey, I'm already over 40 years old. I've been working in extremely challenging environments, in large corporation, in different countries, and myself, I felt the pressure. I felt that results were always the main topic. Companies were putting a lot of pressure on employees, on executives, and often well-being was not, I mean, at that time, well-being was not really a topic. So I would have liked to have something like Virtuosis to support my journey. It would have helped me quite a lot. And so when I saw, and we met with Lara, we discussed about the capabilities of AI and the fact that it looked like science fiction sometimes, just with the tone of the voice, you can detect some crazy things. And I say why, and also based on the fact I've been also active in the not-for-profit and in some impact projects, that you can use that for the good and not for tracking, for selling just some products, which is also absolutely fine with that. But that you can really use for the good and to improve the mental health, the well-being of people. Myself, I am also a yogi since many years. I'm a kind of health freak, if we can say that. And I thought it was amazing. And so that's why on my side, at least, that's what motivated me, and that's why we're here today to share our experience.
And maybe to follow up on Edoardo, being from a younger generation, I think we care a lot more about well-being than what was used to be the normal. And personally, but I think I'm not the only one, I place health and mental health really high on the balance, and that's why, in part, why we decided to launch Virtuosis. And also, as mentioned, Edoardo, AI can be used for many applications, can automatize a lot of things, but it should definitely be used to enhance our capability as human to feel better, to work, to collaborate better between each other.
And in terms of vision, I would say we start with the corporate work. I mean, that's what I'm mostly close to. And that's also where we've seen this shift, really mindset, where now well-being is a top priority there. And that's why we got we discussed with different companies that we've seen a real need for this type of solutions. And that's why we came up also with the partnership with Microsoft. By the way, we've just been awarded Microsoft Startup of the Year, at least in Switzerland. And we start with companies and corporates, but our idea is also to make it as more available as possible to the larger public. So for those, as of today, we have a plugin available, so an app available for Microsoft Teams. So for companies who are using Microsoft Teams, actually they can directly find on the Microsoft App Store, so website, our product, our software. But if you're just interested, you can also have a look at our website, so which is virtuosis.ai, very simple. And we're also working more and more on the mental health and research with some institution. So we want to really get deeper into the mental health landscape.
And if you want to stay tuned with the updates, you can follow us on LinkedIn, where we are mostly active.